Welcome back, crew, or if this is your first time with us, thank you for joining me. Today, we are going to be kicking off our May game of the month, and we're going to be taking a look at the Coyote and Crow system. So, this is our first impressions video. If you followed along through our Power Rangers review, you see that we kind of break these down into a couple different videos just to really get a good feel for the system. So, today, we're looking at our first impressions, and basically what this is I've leaked through the books, I've read some of the features, but I haven't gone in depth in it. I always like to kind of thumb through the book and kind of see what I first think. And with these videos, I want to kind of give you guys my first impressions of it, just to show you what I think's cool so far, what I like, what are some things I want to dive into, and some things maybe I'm not so keen on yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing in play and seeing how it flows. So that's what we're gonna do for Coyote and Crow, and you'll see behind me. I've already actually my book came earlier this week. I learned my lesson with Power Rangers and not buying the book, and this is another one, as you can see from the cover, has some pretty gorgeous art. So definitely, if you like having like those nice books with the cool art in person, like I do, with that physical feel, definitely recommend it. They just came, the book came out, I think, late April. We'll say the 20th in April. So this is a real new book. It's on Amazon. I think they sell it directly from their website too. I bought it off Amazon, but phenomenal. I bought the PDF as well too, just kind of like to be able to pass it out to my players and be able to thumb through it with Control F and all that. But the book is great to be able to really kind of leaf through it. It's our first sunny day in Michigan, so I was out on my patio. I had a beer and was leaving through it this morning. I was kind of getting prepared for this video, so definitely fun. Definitely recommend getting it. But today we're going to kind of break it down to a few core pieces of the book, so at least what I found so far, that I just think really kind of deserve to be called out or just mentioned as we go through this. So one of the biggest that we're going to take a look at first, and this is like a pretty, and first let me show the book too. I'm going to move it a little bit. Like, this is a hefty book. Like, I didn't like, I had the PDF for a couple weeks before I bought the new book, and like this is like, I didn't realize how big it was until until it actually came in the mail from Amazon. So it's definitely worth the buy, definitely worth your money on that side, especially with the art inside. But it's kind of divided into a couple core sections, and one of the first sections, and one of the things that really kind of drew me to Coyote and Crow was the lore and kind of the world they built with this game. So just to kind of, I'm gonna give a real high level overview. One of our videos, because I'm running their adventure, the Encounter at 54th Station. So I'm not going to do my own adventure like I usually do, but rather than the monster build, which I did for the Power Rangers, I'm actually going to do an in-depth dive on their lore because I think it's really cool. I think there's some cool tidbits like we brought out that may hopefully entice some more people to come check it out or come give it a shot. So that's going to be one of the pieces there. But at a high level, the Coyote and Crow system, it's built, and this is something else that drew to me. It's built by, was made by indigenous creators, also Native Americans. So they came through and they built their own version of the world, where one or two key differences, I should say. The first being building in North and South America that were never colonized. So still filled with the indigenous peoples, still their way of life, still, and that's one thing too they mentioned. So they've got their own names in here, different tribes and things too. So for in the game world, they don't use the indigenous peoples line. They've got different kind of names and things, and the names escaping me right now. But when we go on the lore one, I'll make sure I remember that. But it's kind of really cool. There's a couple cool thought experiments, like kind of what North America could be if it wasn't kind of colonized by the European powers. So that was something that was cool to me. That's kind of one of the things that drew me to this system, as I'm loving to see more people of color get into the game, into the TTRPG space, and especially making the game just from this unique perspective. So I was like, I got to give this a try. So this is why I picked it for the May game of the month. That's really what drew me to it initially, before seeing any of the mechanics, before diving into it. Just kind of that premise: what would the world look like without colonization? What I should say, North and South America would look like without colonization. So that was really cool to me. So that's the first big difference. The second difference, and what they call is the Awis, and I may have mispronounced it. I didn't video how to say this one before, so I hope I did it justice. But the Awis is the Great Cataclysm. So basically, I think in the 1500s in this world, or 1400s, there was a major cataclysm. And the kind of cool, the nice thing too, and this is another thing that drew me to this system, is it's a sci fantasy. I love sci fantasy systems. Like I'm a Star. And you see it from my shirt, my background. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I know some people say it's sci-fi. It's sci fantasy. And if you're from my Dungeon Jedi Masters work, you guys know that's definitely my genre of choice. I love science fiction, but I love a little bit of mythology, a little bit of magic, a little bit of just chaos interwoven into that. And Coyote and Crow delivers with that. So there's two different explanations, and it could even be the same explanation that they presented in their lore for the Great Cataclysm, the Awis. One is that a meteor hit the Earth, causing kind of great kind of environmental shifts, like the North America, like some of the northern parts, there's great glaciers that formed, and just different environmental shifts around the world, and just kind of throwing the world into chaos. And for centuries, the tribes and the people were just kind of eking out a living. But as time went on, they were able to kind of develop their own technology, develop their magic, and we'll get into that in a second too, and just really build their societies up. And eventually, the environmental impact is lessened, and kind of the game starts, or the setting starts, I should say, as this environmental impact is lessened, and people are exploring the wider world outside of the North and South American continents, and the tribes, now they're not having to fight the environment, are starting to get more political and geographical ambitions, and starting to conflict with each other. Just kind of a setting rife with opportunity for cool stories to be told. So that's a really cool piece. That's something I'm stoked to see more of. But that was just the first explanation. The other one is that the Great Spirit left. And the Great Spirit leaving kind of caused this great cataclysm. He left the world and kind of spawned a bit of this chaos. And when he left, this is where some of the magical or more mythological components come into it too. He tasked the Coyote, one of the spiritual gods, for lack of a better word. That's my understanding. As I'm doing a bigger deep dive into the lore later too. But he tasked them with helping the mortals, and they did so by giving the Aranati, which is the gift, which is one of the things your player character will start with, and it gives them some kind of supernatural, just beyond human ability that they can manifest and have some fun with. And the tribes have used these gifts to help fight against the Great Cataclysm, but also kind of just to enhance themselves and their society, and just some really cool things with it. So that was just like a real, just surface level overview of the lore, the kind of the initial setting. I'm stoked for. I'm looking forward to the video where we dive more into it. I say, but a good probably third, maybe half of the book is just cool lore information on the setting, just some ideas for the storytellers, which is what they call, or I think story guides is what they call the DMs in this, just to really kind of get your motors running to help make adventures for your players. So for this one, usually I like to make my own custom adventures. For this one, though, I really wanted to do it justice, especially just really kind of get a real feel for the game and the culture. So I decided to run their one-shot, The Encounter at 54th Station, just to really kind of see what they emphasize on, kind of, and just really make sure I'm presenting the game as best as it can be presented. So I'm looking forward to that aspect too. And I forgot to mention that too. So the game itself, so this is our one-shot of the month. May 31st will be when we actually get online on my Twitch channel, Tegan J Gaming. There'll be a link down in the description at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my players and I will dive into the world of the Coyote and Crow and run the Encounter at 54th Station. So come join us for that. One of the things we always do with our game of the month, we're going to be giving away a copy of the PDF for the Coyote and Crow system. So if you've seen it in play, you joined me and my crew, you have the chance to win this PDF, bring it back to your table, and hopefully bring your players to the world of Moccasin and tell some pretty cool stories. So come check that out. We always love having a good audience with us, and definitely have a chance to win that too. But that's a little bit about the lore and kind of the giveaway for the book. But one of the big pieces too, and we'll be doing this is our next video coming out, is just going over character building. So I won't hit it too hard today, but a couple of things that my first impression that I liked so far with it is it's pretty open. It's not, I've been really since Mutants and Masterminds, just really been jiving well with classless systems, where you're more free to kind of go about and pursue different abilities and skills and attributes of your choice versus being locked more into a linear path. And this kind of mixes a bit of the two worlds. Because initially I thought, as I was kind of glancing through, they have different paths, and like these are like usually animalistic paths too, that align with kind of a sacred animal, and you could pick that, and you get some of the attributes from that animal. These are basically you'll get these are basically how you can improve your ability scores. So you get for one of them, you'll be get a bonus to wisdom, one of them a bonus to strength, and you get bonuses to two attributes that are linked to that class. So cool things on that side, but that's really the only major piece that dictates with those paths. So you get those attributes. You also get some cool different RP flavor that you can do because you're linked to that animal. You actually have some of their genetic dispositions, or kind of genetic material, I should say, as well. So you get some cool links to that, some things you can flavor out for your play PC, either different appearance-wise or different personality traits they may have picked up due to their Aranati, which is how you get that link. The gift is what links you to that path and gives you that supernatural ability related to the animal. So just some cool things you can RP out from that side. But the nice thing is, outside of that, is it's very open. You can go through and select the abilities, the skills, the attributes that align with what you envision your PC to be. So that's really cool there. Next video, so next Saturday or Sunday, you'll see this drop, and we'll be able to go a little bit more in depth on kind of what that means and what to expect when working with that. So stay tuned on that side. We'll get to go a little bit more into that aspect too. Outside of that, so that's just kind of a real high level of the character build. As I said, this is our first impressions video, so we're not diving too deep into the mechanics, but don't worry, those are coming with later videos. But outside of the character building and the lore, just a little high level peek at how the system runs, or kind of what to expect from the system. So cool thing with this system is it's a D12 system. So you just need one dice, which you need one type of dice. You're going to use a lot of D12s, which is cool. I rarely ever use my D12, so I'm excited for this system on that side because you get to bust out or at least for me, coming from being a 5e player, and then Pathfinder as well, and then Mutants and Masterminds. Most of my games don't use D12, so this is a dice that's kind of had a little bit of dust on it. I get to shake it off for this game and get to use something fun with it. So that's going to be cool. Hopefully we'll have some fun on that side. And this one, it kind of a little similar to Vampires the Masquerade, kind of how it works. But basically, with this D12 system, you're going to have dice pools for each of your skills. So, for instance, for your skills and attributes, I should say. So, for instance, if you had to make a strength check, you have a strength of 3, and it was just purely strength for this one, you'd roll 3 D12s. And then it's going to be using the number of successes you have. And the successes, it can vary what the dice number you'll need. They recommended 8. So 8's usually kind of their base level pass-fail. So if it's 8 or above, pass. Below 8, fail. 1, critical fail. 12, critical success. So kind of cool on that side. And so with that, you roll those. So it's how many of your dice you have of that attribute. So let's say you have that strength 3. You get to roll 3d12s. And depending on how many successes either the challenge itself has or your story guide set, you'll need those amount to get something good. Or if you have kind of just even amount or no successes, no kind of an even amount of successes and failures, you've got that. Or if you have more failures than successes, then something bad can happen too. So it's kind of cool. You get to see how all that flows through. I'm looking forward to playing around with that system. I haven't decided yet for the game if I'm going to do physical dice to players or if we're just going to use a dice roller. We're not going to, usually I use Roll20 for my systems, but it's not, this one is going to be on Roll20. It's not on there currently. So this one I'm going to be, I'm still kind of figuring out how I want to do it for the viewers, but you'll stay tuned. We'll see how that flows in the Twitch game. Because I like rolling physical dice, this could be a good excuse to roll some physical dice too. So I'll talk with you about players and you get to see what we choose on May 31st. So that's just a little bit on the D12 and the dice pool system. There'll be a mechanics video coming up over the month too. That's going to hit that a little bit more in depth, but this is just kind of want to give you an open view of it. The other thing with the kind of going through and determining, just kind of let's say you're in a combat. So this one, the system is built up. You've got a primary actions, which your primary actions are primarily going to be like you can attack, you can change your initiative, delay your turn, all the big things you could usually do as like a main action with other systems. Those flow pretty similarly to what you'd expect for other games too. And then you've got your secondary actions, which could be things that sometimes may be a free action, like you can use it to move, you can use it to talk to somebody, draw a weapon, just all those things that you can usually do pretty quickly in a game. But they also have some cool things that go along with it too. So you can take cover, defend against a particular attack from a certain person. Just some cool different things that you can do on that side. And we're going to do a mechanics video for this one too. We didn't do a straight mechanics one for Power Rangers, but I think that's kind of a cool thing to do with these reviews too, or with kind of our month of focusing on one game. It's just have a mechanics session where you go over just the different things and things to kind of keep an eye out for as a DM or a story guide in this case, or even as a player, just to know what to know before picking up your dice and playing a game. So that'll be one of the videos too. That'll be right after we build a PC too. So keep it out for that one too. So just overall too, there'll be 3 additional videos coming for our month of May with the Coyote and Crow system. We've got this video with our first impressions. After this, we've got our build your own PC, where we're going to walk through and how to build a PC with the Coyote and Crow rules and guidelines and just overall system flow. Then we've got our mechanics video. We're going to dive into some of the mechanics of the Coyote and Crow system, what to expect as a player, what to expect as a DM. Finally, we're going to do a lore video too. So this one's you can be unique to the Coyote and Crow system because we're going to just really dive into some of their lore, give a little bit more of an overview, go over some of the cool things I like, some of the things just I think stand out for the system that can hopefully inspire just a little bit more, kind of just inspire some love as you guys are going through and playing with it. So take a look, stay tuned as we go through that. But before we get to that, there's one last thing I wanted to mention for the Coyote Crow, just my first impressions. And this is something I thought was really cool that I think could be utilized by more systems as well. But it just gives you a little bit of a framework as a story guide or as a GM just to how to run certain pieces. And this is their 3-path system, as they call it. And what that does is there's 3 different paths so you can kind of go along as you're running a certain encounter or running a situation. So basically, this comes up if you're going to be a spot where you know your players have choice. So if you know your players are going to have some type of choice they have to make, some action that they're going to be able to determine, versus like kind of railroading, which is a common term, and kind of throwing them a spot where there's only one solution, or even sometimes as a game designer, you may go through and not even think of the solution, which sometimes can be good, but sometimes it may make it a little bit harder to improvise and kind of figure out what the players can do on that side. But with this system, they give you the 3-path system. So they encourage you to, whenever you have players come to a choice, come to a situation, you make 3 different paths they can follow. So just really have 3 different options and outcomes that they can kind of either kind of the most common ones, just kind of where you think they may flow into, and can have those prepared and built out for the players. Now, one thing too, that this doesn't limit them to the 3 choices that they've got, or that you provided. But in case something does come up, this just gives you just a little bit more of a framework, just a preparation to be able to respond to player choices and make sure you're still providing an engaging story experience for them as well. So I thought that was really cool and something unique, and just something that I think more systems should call out or provide GMs or story guides with the tools to be able to do, or just the framework to get into the mindset of the game, so they know how to be able to respond to those. So I thought that was cool they included it. We'll probably touch on that a little bit more in the mechanics section too, but I like that. I do get to see that with there goes that we're running their encounters, so you get to see me run through that. I get to see some of those different options they can play or kind of enhance to. And one of the things I like too, and they kind of call this out, the 3-path option, is giving players some more options that aren't just combats. Because with the Coyote and Crow system, and we'll go with this more in depth in the player creation episode, but they give a lot of different skills, abilities, resources that aren't combat driven. This isn't there's definitely combat, there's opportunities for combat, and even the encounter opens up with a combat situation. But it gives you the tools and resources to be able to avoid combat if that's what the players are looking to do, and avoid combat in a way too that they can still feel like their characters represented. Because I love 5e, but one of the hardships with 5e is it's like 80% of the rules are dedicated to combat, 80% of your skills, abilities, resources, probably more than 80% are dedicated to combat. So sometimes you can feel like sometimes people get into the murder hobo or kind of the attack mindset because your character's built to attack. So this allows you to build characters that aren't just built for pure combat. It also encourages a storyteller to find ways to, if your players are trying to avoid combat, to allow them to do so and kind of creatively solve problems in a way that doesn't always come to blows. So I thought that was cool. I think there should be more situations that have that built in to the system. But overall, I'm super excited to be diving more into this system. So stay tuned. We're really going to be giving the Coyote and Crow just a real in-depth look and just showing off some of the really unique things that the creators who obviously put a lot of love into this system have done. So come through, drop a subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share this with your friends too if you know that they may be interested in learning about new systems. That's really kind of my focus for this. I've been DMing for years, and I've always been kind of in the D&D space or the Star Wars 5e space, and I wanted to get out there and find some new TTRPGs, and especially ones like this that kind of shone a light on some more, just kind of people of color, more people, have a wider array, a diverse crew that are working in this TTRPG space. So really share, subscribe, let people know. I really want to put a spotlight on this system because it's amazing so far. So drop a like, stay tuned. Next week, you're going to see more on how to build a PC with that. Week after that, you're going to see more of the mechanics of the Coyote and Crow system. And after that, we're going to dive into the lore. But then don't forget to join us on May 31st, where you can actually win a copy of the Coyote and Crow system and get to see it played live with me and my crew. But overall, thank you guys for joining us, and I hope to see you all back soon.